In this video, we're going to be engineering the GQ for the 4th time.
Through the lights, easier than saying goodbye.
So yeah, you heard me right. This is going to be the GQ's 4th time engineering, and so I thought I'd start by going through what all the other mod plates are for and the engineering that it's had so far. So you're going to have to excuse the mess a little bit. I've just got back from a trip and I'm just about to go on another trip, and so yeah, the engine bay is going to stay dirty for the time being. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the configurations that this GQ's been through and the different mod plates that it's had so far and what it's getting now. So in the past, the GQ was fully engineered. It's just that I couldn't get engineered on the 37s, obviously, and so it was just engineered on road tyres. And so because the GQ is so low and because it was on like 32s, it didn't actually need to be engineered for height and tyre size because it fell within the limits of VSB 14. And so while it was engineered for the suspension components individually, like long arms, hyperflex arms, it wasn't actually engineered for tyre size and height. And so that's what we're going to be doing in this video. So before we get into the engineering that it's going to be receiving, I thought I'd quickly go through each individual mod plate and what it's for. I carry this binder around in the GQ and it's got every bit of engineering that the GQ's ever had. So the first mod plate was for the body conversion. So this obviously used to be a station wagon and it was a 7-seater. I chopped it down into a ute and a 2-seater, so it's been engineered for all of that. It's been engineered for the engine conversion. So this engine is a crate motor TD42 Ti, which is out of a later model Patrol, and it's been engineered for that, plus the turbo and everything to do with the engine. The diffs, so it was engineered for the GU diffs, which involves brake conversions as well. The Falcon seats in the front and the long range tank, plus, as I said before, not actually height and tyre size, but just the suspension component. So all of the superior stuff was engineered, but it just didn't need to be done for height. That brings us on to the next mod plate. Not long after that, I decided I wanted to do long arms and hydraulic bump stops. And so again, that had to be engineered. And so the second mod plate was for the rear suspension. So you get a rear suspension code which covers those long arms, plus front suspension, which included the hydraulic bump stops and some chassis bracing there to tie into those. And so that was the second mod plate. And so about a year went on and my steering box started leaking, and the only steering box I could find on Facebook Marketplace was a GU one. And so I just bolted that in. And around the same time, I was trying to get my brakes working better, and so I went to a GU brake booster. I think they might have even been in the same video, and so someone's obviously watched that, thought you need to be engineered for that, and they've actually called me in for it, when all I was doing was trying to stop a steering leak and trying to make it brake better, and someone called me in for it. And so I got defected for that, and I took it to my engineer and we engineered it. And so I just had to do a brake test and a couple of other things, and that was that. So that is the third mod plate. And so that brings us to present day. So since Superior Engineering have released their Off-Road Pro Kit, that has allowed people in Queensland to run 4-inch and 35s. Now, I know we're not in Queensland, we're in Tassie. And so the limit down here, using that data, is 3-inch and about 34.5. So what's cool about this is I actually already bought nearly everything I need to be Off-Road Pro eligible. I have Dobinson coils, which need to be Superior Engineering coils. I have the 2 factory sway bars, which need to be Superior Engineering sway bars. And then a couple of other things. I need to make sure my speedo is working accurately, and I need to make sure I've got the chop plates and support plates in the cross member for the extra flex and travel that it's got. And so we're going to jump straight in. I've got some cool billet arms that are gonna go in the back. We've got to put both sway bars in. We've got to put superior coils in, plus a couple of other small jobs just to get the car roadworthy again. I've got mud flaps that are ripped off. I've got a massive crack in my dump pipe that needs to be fixed, and a couple of other little things just that need attention. Which actually brings me to a really common question, and that is, why can't the engineer just look at the modifications and ignore the rest of the car? The car must be fully roadworthy when you are getting it engineered. So no, the engineer can't just sign off what you've changed. My engineer requires the car to be 100% roadworthy because they take photos of the whole car, and so it needs to be in the final roadworthy configuration that it's gonna be when you get engineered. So yeah, he's coming this week, hopefully to sign the GQ off. I did ask if he wouldn't mind being on camera, but he wasn't keen, which is fair enough. You know, not everyone wants to be on camera. It's honestly not that exciting anyway. It's just him walking around with a clipboard and taking photos and asking questions and measuring things. With the Superior Off-Road Pro data, it's not like you have to do a lane change or brake test anyway, because it's all included in that. And that's what you're paying for when you get Superior engineering stuff. You're paying for all that work that's been done to engineer your car by proxy with the data that's already been developed. And so yeah, let's go and have a look at what's going in this thing. The first thing is some really cool billet arms from Superior. So let's do it. I have these Billet Series 7075 long arms. Now, because the GU already has long arms, these are just a like for like swap. Doesn't affect the geometry, doesn't affect anything in terms of legality or anything like that. These are also under the same codes. It's just that they are a lot lighter and they just look freaking cool. Superior do include these stainless bash guards for them, which I am going to be putting on. While the chromoly ones still are stronger, these here are a massive upgrade from the factory ones. 7075 alloy is really resistant to permanently deforming. So yeah, we'll get the guards put on and we'll get them in the car. And I'm gonna anti-season too, because it's stainless going into alloy. Now, I do have a hoist to do this, but it's actually easier to do this on the ground. I've got the car in gear with the handbrake on. Got to chock the wheels front and rear, because if you can imagine, as we undo this, the rear diff could go out from underneath the car in either direction. And we'll undo these and take them out. I was going to chuck these arms in the GU because they wouldn't see as much abuse, but I'm actually keen to abuse them, and the GU is already mod plated and legal for everything that's in it, whereas this car is about to be mod plated again for suspension, and so I might as well put them in here so they can just be incorporated in all into the same mod plate. But yeah, we'll get them all undone. We'll probably only get the coils and long arms in tonight, and then we'll do the rest tomorrow. Oh my god, they're so much heavier. It might just take a little bit of shuffling around. I've just got a jack under the pinion, so it's basically going like that with the diff and moving the holes forward and back. I think it should line up now. Alright, that's one side down. We'll do the other one. Alrighty, and that is the second one in there. Alright, and that is both of them in. So we'll get it up on the hoist and we'll do the coils next. For this off-road pro kit, you've got to run Superior's coils, and so I'm swapping over from Dobinson's to Superior. Let's do it. All right. And so you can see here, they are longer, even though it's no more lift. And that's so that the coil stays home when the car's flexing out. Tall one goes in the driver's side, short one goes in the passenger side. And so back here, we've got the coil retainers, so we've got to undo those. Those coils have been in here since this thing was a wagon. All right, let's put the new ones in. And so again, tall one goes in the driver's side, shorter one goes to the passenger side. And that's the coil retainers all back on. And then you can see the dropout cones up there and they're still catching them. Well, I am dusty as, look at that. That's all the crap I just blew out from behind where the new sway bars are going. Man, it smells like the $1,000 track. But yeah, I might as well get this new sway bar mounted up. So we'll do that now. And so this is going to be a bit hard to show, but essentially what it is, this is a threaded plate that sits here behind there, like that, and then we're going to do that up over the top of it, and that's going to be where the new sway bar goes to. And so it's going to be a little bit hard to show. So that's one done. So I'll do the other side and then we'll get the actual bar in. while I tighten this sway bar up, I want to explain a little bit about this kit and why it's so important to me. So in Tasmania, you are allowed to increase your tyre size by 50 mil, and you are allowed to have 25 more mil lift on top of that. And that's as far as you can go. And obviously that is absolutely useless. And if you want to go outside of that with lift, then you need to perform a series of tests. Except we don't really have facilities for that testing in Tasmania. And so that's where brands like Superior come in. So Superior have performed all sorts of tests on a patrol that has 4 inches of lift and 35s, and it passed all those tests exactly in this configuration. And so that's why, if you want to run this kit with the 4 inch and 35s, you must have every piece that they have, right down to the brand of coil, right down to the brand of shock, right down to the brand of arms, even sway bars, which is why I'm changing to these Superior sway bars. Before, this car was engineered on factory size tyres, which was a 265 75/16, and 1 to 2 inches of lift, whatever it was with those other coils in it. And so I was basically dailying it on 32s, and then when I wanted to go forward driving, I'd take my tyres along and I'd put my tyres on. But now that I'm going to the Superior sway bars, the Superior coils, this car is going to have everything it needs in order to pass those tests by proxy, because it's got everything in it that Superior kit has got, which is what the GU is under. So the GU has the Off-Road Pro kit, and now that's what the GQ is going to have. And so I see people all the time say stuff about the price of Superior stuff, but if I had to lane change test this, brake test it, all that kind of stuff, I would have to hire a private road to do so, which is basically Simmons Plains, and I would also have to hire a driver plus the engineering fee. So that's pretty easily $10,000 just there. And so you can say what you want about the cost of these kits, but considering what you get, and considering you get peace of mind to be legal on the lift and tyres that you want to run, then it's not that expensive if you ask me. And yes, I am sponsored by Superior, and so it makes it a little bit easier, but I've said it a lot of times and I'll say it again. The first kit that went under this GQ was before YouTube, before sponsors, before anything. I paid for it, and I paid for it because it's what I wanted. And so if you are going to buy suspension parts, yeah, you might be able to get cheaper stuff. Yeah, there might be a cool 4-link and whatnot, but always ask the question, is this engineerable? Has anyone got it engineered before? Because if you want to be legal, then you don't really want to do irreversible stuff to your chassis in it. But yeah, let's get these links in. From one of my previous roadworthies, I know that the guys where I go like to see rubber boots over these rose joints. And so that's what I'm going to do. I've got 4 of them for these that fit these sway bar links. So I'm going to slip them over there like that. They actually work too. They make your heims last a hell of a lot longer. You just pump them full of grease, and then that all stays pretty protected from water, and that might not be the same everywhere, but I just know that that's what they like to see at my roadworthy place. And so that's what I'm going to do. I won't keep showing you chucking this sway bar in. You can pretty much see what the drill is from here. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And we might leave the front until tomorrow, I think. Might call it a night. All right, I'm going to get this other side in, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Usually I'd suggest backing those out a little bit, backing them back in a little bit, and doing them bit by bit, because the backs of the bolts can get rusty and you can break them off in there, but I had these off recently, so I knew it was going to be fine. Alright, so the mounts are in. Now we've just got to set up these links. When you put these bushes on too, make sure you put the lip going towards the mount as well, because they centralise themselves. I didn't bother putting a disconnect in the rear because I've noticed with the superior sway bars, the rear still moves pretty freely, but I am going to put the disconnects in the front. I think it's scary having a front sway bar, both on and off road. On road, I feel like it stiffens up the front, and because you've still got a lot of rear flex, when you go around roundabouts and corners and stuff, it can tend to want to lift wheels with a front sway bar. I actually think it's safer on road without a front sway bar personally. And then off road, I like the front to be able to move. Otherwise, it just feels like the cab moves with the front diff and it makes it want to tip. Anyway, get these in. I'm gonna have to do this next bit on the ground because it doesn't quite reach at droop on the hoist. And so all I'm doing is chucking the same rose joints on and then putting the quick disconnects on. So yeah, I'll do that and I'll check back with you guys. So we are still working on getting the GQ ready for engineering. And so you're probably wondering why I've got my entire turbo and manifold sitting here. That is what's left of my dump pipe. It was pretty loud, pretty obnoxious. And so I've taken that off. The easiest way to get the dump pipe off these things is just to take the whole manifold off. Unlike a lot of dump pipes that have 3 studs, the TDs on the factory configuration at least have 6. And so you're not getting to all those nuts in the car. If you've done it before, kudos, but I just take the whole thing off. And considering we are changing dump pipes, I also thought it'd be a good time to upgrade my gauges to JRP. And so I'm going to a cast dump pipe, which is what it should have been from the beginning. These welded dump pipes, they're always gonna crack. It's just the way it is. And so yeah, I got this cast dump pipe off eBay. Looks pretty good, it'll do the job. And so I'm just drilling and tapping this to 1/8 MPT, and then we'll start getting it in the car. So that's all tapped in nicely. Now we can chuck it on here. Also, a massive shout out to Roadrunner for the genuine gaskets and studs and copper nuts and things like that. They literally have everything. That is the dump pipe on. I've used copper anti-seize, I've used copper nuts, and that's exactly how I was able to get these undone so easily last time. Don't be afraid to use anti-seize, and I highly recommend using copper nuts. You'll notice I just have a flange bolted onto here, and that is because the studs might not match up to where the orientation that's in there now. And so I have prepared myself and bought a new flange just in case I need to cut that flange off, reorientate this, and then put it back on. So that can all come off for now. And we'll get this back in the car. Alright, well I'm going to go through and tighten all those up and get all the other pipe work in, and then we can start with making that exhaust work. Alright, so that's the manifold all cinched down and the oil feed is attached. I've just got to do the oil drain down below, and then I can get all this top pipe work on. And then we can do the exhaust. Alrighty, that is all of the turbo plumbed back in and the new dump pipe on, and so we can go underneath and see if this old exhaust is going to match up, or whether I'm going to need to make a new piece to match up. But yeah, I'm filthy. That's a horrible job. Soot, oil, dust, everything. But yeah, I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up, and then we'll see how this exhaust is going to go. Alright, so I'm going to send it up now, and then we can get underneath and see if that dump pipe is going to fit, or whether we need to weld up a new one. See the new dump pipe there. We need to come out of there and into here. And so I've already got a piece here that I'm hoping is going to match up. So we'll have a look at that and see if it's going to work or not. Once again, the first thing we're going to do is chuck on some anti-seize. So I'm actually stoked with how that fits, and it looks like it's going to marry up to the rest of the exhaust just fine. So that is awesome. I'll get a new gasket for the next joint and we'll do him up. And so that brings us to the end of the jobs I needed to do on the GQ for engineering. I did talk with my engineer to see if he'd be happy to come on camera, and he was like, nah, might stay out of it, which is fair enough. And so you're not going to see that portion, but I will let you guys know what the new codes are for, what it covers, and what the process entailed. Yeah, that'll do it for now. We'll take it for a drive. Alright, so I just took it for a test drive and everything is back to normal, which is awesome. It doesn't sound real barky and obnoxious anymore. And the next job I'm going to do is to chuck those JRP gauges in, which I'm going to do now. I already showed putting those in. If you want to see it, then I did it not too long ago. I'll put a link in the description, putting the JRP gauges in the GU. Alright, so the gauges are all installed. I'll just give you a quick look at them. I haven't adjusted them yet, but I've got the buttons just here so that you can adjust them. And the cool thing about these gauges is they come with these little cards and you just scan them on your phone and it comes up with the PDF to set them up. So yeah, that's really, really cool. But yeah, the car's all done and it's ready to go to the engineer. And so the next thing you're gonna see is probably me having a bit of a chat about it once the engineering's done, and hopefully we pass. But yeah, I'll catch you guys there. So we passed. I hold here the 4th lot of engineering that this car's had. So you can see the mod plate right there. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 mod plates, and I'll talk a bit more about it after we get it up on the hoist. A lot of people ask what the GQ setup is, and so I'm going to take a moment now to go through the whole thing. So we have Superior's Hyperflex arms, we have Superior Superflex sway bar, we have Superior's 4340 chrome ollie tie rod and drag link, we have an adjustable panhard, and that pretty much does it for arms. Then we have Superior's steering dampener and 2.0 remote res shocks. They are in a 7-inch, so they're like a 12-inch travel or a 13-inch travel, I think. And then we have the Superior coils. So what's changed in the front is this sway bar. I used to have just a factory front sway bar, and we've gone to Superior's coils because they used to be Dobinson coils, and they were both requirements for the Off-Road Pro kit. So yeah, that's it for the front. Let's make our way down the back. Down the back, we have gone to Superior's 7075 billet series long arms. They just were a replacement for the old long arms. We have Superior's adjustable upper control arms. I have Superior's adjustable panhard. Then we have the Superior Superflex sway bar and Superior coils. And much like the front, I've got Superior's 2.0 remote res 7-inch shocks, which equates to like a 13 or 14-inch travel. A couple of other little tidbits you've got to have in the rear. You've got to have coil retainers so that they stay in with the extra flex, and dropout cones, plus extended bump stops and bump stop extensions. And so the only thing we've had to change in the rear is the Superflex sway bar. I just had a factory sway bar before. And the other thing we had to change is this little plate here. So when you go to this extra flex, you've got to chop out the cross member and add this plate underneath. That was one of the things I was missing for the Off-Road Pro kit. And so now that's all done, and this is officially an Off-Road Pro kit. And so that brings us to the final thing, which is wheels and tires. Now, obviously I missed the 37s, they were unreal. I do still have the competition tires, which I'll use for really rude stuff because you can't really use them on the road anyway. I'll trailer them to when I'm doing the $1,000 track and things like that. But otherwise, this is what I'm going to be running. They equate to about a 34.5. They're a 305 7017, and it's what I run on both patrols. And so yeah, that is it. The car is officially on 3" and 34.5s, and that's the way that it's going to stay for the foreseeable future. As I said, I do still have my comp tyres that I'm going to use if I'm doing the $1,000 track or other really rude stuff like that. I did just do a trip across Climies in Cumberland, and I did absolutely fine on these wheels and tyres. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, leave a big thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.